Boruto episode 99 review. Alright guys, this episode was absolutely amazing. Now, I didn't necessarily expect it to be this good. I knew there was going to be some good action scenes in this episode, mainly because the preview for this episode was super fire, but I never thought it was going to be anything like this. Now, this definitely did surprise me. I'm sure it surprised a lot of you guys as well. One thing I do have to say is I have to give major kudo points to my man's Konohamaru. I said coming into this episode, this was an episode for Konohamaru to pretty much give me a little bit more faith in Konohamaru. That's exactly what he did. Now, I loved all the choreography that happened in this episode, especially in terms of the kunai. Oh my god, it just looked amazing. Now, over the past week, I've been hearing people complain about how they think that Jugo is a little bit nerfed, and I kind of understood where they're coming from, mainly because he kind of went toe-to-toe with Boruto, and he didn't completely demolish Boruto, but I feel like Jugo gained a lot of his clout points back. He pretty much tanked the whole Rasengan that Konohamaru threw at him. Don't get me wrong, I understand that Jugo was a little bit weakened, but if they would have continued fighting and Jugo was 100% dead set on trying to kill Konohamaru, he definitely would have killed Konohamaru. Jugo didn't necessarily pass out until he actually took the serum that absorbs the curse mark out of Jugo. We've seen Boruto give Jugo the serum later on in the episode, and right after that he passed out, so I'm guessing that's the reason why he actually passed out after the fight versus Konohamaru, and it wasn't necessarily because of the Rasengan. So my man Jugo pretty much ate like a wind style Rasengan. Of course, we've seen the deforesting caused by the Rasengan, which lets us understand that Konohamaru's Rasengan isn't a regular Rasengan, and for Jugo to completely eat that Rasengan and still have some curse mark left in him, it was just absolutely amazing. So that right there shows me that Jugo is still Jugo at heart. Now, there are some slight modifications to Jugo, and I'll just touch on one of them in this video right here. It was his hands. I'm pretty sure you guys know right now he has these things around his hands or his fingers, which probably makes him hit harder. Back when Jugo was actually fighting alongside Sasuke, he didn't necessarily have those around his arms, so that's pretty much a slight modification to Jugo. After the fight, we understand that Konohamaru is pretty much out of commission. While Konohamaru is going to be out of commission, they're pretty much not going to have any leader, mainly because Hanabi was not there. And not only that, Team 15 left Team 7. Now, this right here gives them a very golden opportunity to give Jugo some character development, and of course, that's exactly what they did in this episode. They might continue on with that in the next episode, but I do hope that we do get to see a little bit of action scenes, especially in terms of Team 15 versus the other two guys with curse marks. I'll get into those guys later on in the video, but I feel like Boruto and Jugo are definitely going to build a very strong relationship. Boruto has the same thing with Naruto. Of course, we know that Naruto, wherever he went, he managed to make friends with a lot of people. Boruto has that same trait. Of course, that does correlate to the Kage level talk no jutsu. And some of you guys might not like that, mainly because Boruto will probably not end up finishing off a lot of his fights, just like how Naruto didn't finish off a lot of his fights. But in this situation, a lot of people are going to agree that that friendliness of Boruto did a good job in this episode of him gaining a little bit of trust of Jugo. Definitely not a lot of trust, but a little bit of trust with Jugo, and it's really going to be very cool later on in the episode. Not only that, Boruto did kind of defend Jugo in this episode, and I use the word defend kind of slightly, mainly because there's a separate team looking for Jugo. I'm pretty sure you guys remember seeing it in this episode, this guy right here. Now, this guy pretty much asked Boruto, hey, have you guys found out anything about this mission? And Boruto told him no, and I feel like that right there had Jugo trust Boruto a lot more. Now, I knew that separate team was going to come based on the spoilers, and in my review of the spoilers, because I know some of you guys probably didn't watch it, I kind of gave my theory that this separate team is probably going to be in on the curse mark. They're probably going to try to nullify Jugo, because Jugo is probably going to be the main factor of how they can actually stop this curse mark from spreading. I feel like the spreading of the curse mark is pretty much just an experiment to pretty much make up this scientific technology that all of these other guys are using to have the curse mark. Now, we've seen these two characters, they're supposedly brother and sister, and they have this thing around their neck, and once they press a button on the thing around their neck, they pretty much get this curse mark. It's like the scientific version to what Sasuke and what Kimimaro had back in the day in part 1 of Naruto, which is absolutely amazing in my opinion. I feel like, of course, some of you guys are probably not going to like it, mainly because it's scientific and jutsu, but I feel like this is cool. Like, listen, we came from jutsus and pods, we went to dojutsus, and now we go from scientific curse mark. Now, of course, they're setting up for a lot more bigger and more complicated things, but I feel like this right here was a very interesting step where you have a curse mark in a leash. Now, the separate team that's quote-unquote trying to actually save the birds, I personally feel like they're just gathering data from the birds to pretty much report back to the leader of the whole situation and tell them how it's affecting the birds so they can gather more data about the scientific ninjutsu that they're planning on using. Now, I don't know if the person behind this is just completely evil, or it's just like a stupid scientist, just like how Katasuke was like a stupid scientist that put everybody in risk. This might be a certain situation just like that. So I'm not going to necessarily say he's a super bad guy as of yet, but I feel like definitely this is going to be something that Boruto and everybody else, they're going to look forward to pretty much defeating this guy, just like how they apprehended Katasuke as well. And can we please talk about Boruto's curse mark in this episode? It's like they kept showing us Boruto's curse mark. It's like a thought that just got her nipple pierced trying to show it off every single chance that she gets. It's just like that with Boruto. Like, just look. And of course, we can't forget about the most infamous one when he just put it out in front of Jugo like, here, look. I hope the Boruto writers understand that they're not being completely slick in this situation. Now, some people were hitting me up and they were saying like, hey, this definitely cannot just be a coincidence. We cannot have a huge arc about a curse mark or a small to medium arc about a curse mark and not involve anything with Boruto's curse mark. Now, I'm not so sure, man, because I don't want to necessarily put any faith into Boruto writers, because every time I do that, they end up breaking my faith. But every time I put no faith into the Boruto writers, they end up exceeding my expectations like tenfold. So as of yet, I'm not gonna put any faith into the Boruto writers. I don't think that there's gonna be anything related to Boruto's curse mark in this arc, but again, they're just showing it to us every single chance that they get, and it's like not even slight, not even like slide, not even like low key, like they're overtly showing us Boruto's curse mark. I remember the first time that Boruto got the curse mark and he put this bandage wrap on him, and I thought they were going to keep that on him, so they didn't really have to keep drawing in that diamond on Boruto's hand, because 9 times out of 10 they're probably going to forget to draw it a couple times, because Boruto illustrators have been known to pretty much mess some stuff up, like these two pictures right here. But throughout the previous episodes, they just didn't show us Boruto's open hand. Now in this past episode, they showed it to us a lot, so this could possibly be a sign, but as I said, I'm not necessarily putting too much stock into it, but it's definitely noteworthy. Now, I brought this up earlier in the video. Team 15 came into contact with these two guys that are using this scientific curse mark thing around their necks. Now, I personally feel like they're probably going to have a very tough time defeating these guys, not only because I don't have a lot of faith in Team 15, but because they have a synthetic curse mark that's pretty much very similar to Jugo's curse mark. Now, here's the thing. I personally feel like the only way that they could possibly come out of this is if Sumire probably pulls off something extremely miraculous, or if this girl pulls out her secret like Jonin level jutsu that completely destroys everything that's around it, and there's a last cop out of them miraculously getting some backup from somebody. But overall, I definitely feel like this is going to be a very difficult time for Team 15 to pretty much defeat these two guys, mainly because I personally feel like the curse mark is just going to be that strong. Now, this all depends on how strong they were before the curse mark, and if these guys are pretty much like academy student level before the curse mark, we understand that they're probably going to get beat by Team 15. But knowing the situation and knowing the Boruto writers, they wouldn't have these guys just be completely weak, and of course they want to build the character of the synthetic technology, so they're probably going to make these two guys extremely strong. So that's why I feel like Team 15 are going to have a very difficult time taking down this foe. Now, another thing that I'm looking forward to is actually seeing the second form of the curse mark. Now, we don't necessarily know if this supposed synthetic curse mark can pretty much have these guys transform into a second form. We've seen Kimimura's transformation, and of course we all know Sasuke's famous second transformation as well. They basically have a second form. Now, hopefully these guys can possibly have a second form. Now, I know I'm saying hopefully, but they're actually going against Team 15. I don't know, maybe I want Team 15 to get demolished, but honestly I just want to see some cool form, and hopefully even if these guys do turn into a second form, Team 15 could possibly find a way to actually bring them down. One thing I feel like could possibly be very cool is if the birds have a second form. That would actually be insane, but more realistically, these two guys having a second form, I definitely do want to see that. Now, if I were to actually give a theory, I strongly doubt that we probably get to see it in this next episode, mainly because I feel like these two guys could probably take down Team 15 with just using their first form. As I said earlier, they mainly want to build up that impact and that character development of the curse mark, so we as an audience could understand that this curse mark is actually overpowered and they don't necessarily need to use a second form to defeat Sumire, Wasabi, and Amida. But nevertheless, I could dream, right? And another thing is that the effect of this curse mark is extremely strong. Like, a curse mark from one bird is enough to transform Jugo completely to his full curse marked state. it's like amazing. Like, imagine if he has to steal a cold curse mark from an actual person, which he did before in the past, in which he did actually transform like almost immediately after he ran into the cave. But I am looking forward to the next episode to see exactly who's behind all of this, and hopefully we get to see a lot more character development in terms of Jugo with Boruto on the rest of Team 7. And one thing I really hope that Team 15 versus the two guys with the synthetic curse marks, I hope that fight is going to be just as good as Konohamaru and Team 7 versus Jugo, because that fight scene was absolutely amazing. I know it's going to be different animators because it's a different episode, but I hope that different animator brings the same level of intensity. But let me know what you guys think about this episode in the comment section below. I personally feel like it was absolutely amazing. Let me know what you guys think. But it's me, your boy Barbie, and we out.
It's a knife.
Check my clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols. Reaming my body, clothing no issue. Bitch, you look sick, you need a tissue. You drop a body, I just might bless you. I'm metrosexual, no high cholesterol. Where's Jenny Craig? Bitch, just get sexual.